Hi, it's Zeke with the Eastside Church of Christ in Baytown, Texas, just having a cup of coffee and reading the Bible. This week, our Bible reading for the week of September 6th through the 12th takes us through some important historical events. Our reading this week begins with the wonderful reign of Judah's king Hezekiah. You recall last week we read about the downfall of the northern kingdom of Israel, and as that northern kingdom was experiencing its death rattle, the southern kingdom of Judah was experiencing great revival under King Hezekiah, arguably their best king since King David. He reconsecrated the Levites, he purified the temples, he renewed the people to sacrifices, which was no small feat. They had been languishing under poor leadership for some time, and Hezekiah effectively revitalizes the nation with a joyful Passover celebration, one that tells us hadn't been seen since the days of David and Solomon. He invited the Israelites from the defunct northern kingdom to come and participate, and some do. And it's such a joyous event that it not only goes through the 7 days of the feast, but for an additional 7 days. Well, the reforms continued, and things seemed very well indeed. But it wasn't all roses and high times. The Assyrian king Sennacherib swoops in with arrogance and words of blasphemy, handily intimidating the Israelites. But Isaiah encouraged Hezekiah and told him that God would act. And he did, helping the Israelites from effectively being taken over by the Assyrians. Isaiah 36 and 37 gives us the prophet's perspective on the episode, and it's such a momentous one that it appears in 3 separate places. Of course, the book of Kings, the book of Chronicles, and of course Isaiah's book as well. Also included in our reading this week is the account of Hezekiah's near-death experience. God saves him. He recovers. But then afterwards he makes a proud and very foolish mistake. You can read about that. Isaiah continues in his book with some comforting words to the people by affirming that God will one day send a special servant. And Isaiah chapter 42 is the first of what's called Isaiah's servant's songs. And when you read it, it's clear that it's referring to the coming Messiah, to Jesus. Meanwhile, we head over into the New Testament, into our reading in the book of 1 Corinthians. And Paul continues in that letter to deal with the issues of personal liberty in chapter 8, with his own evangelism methods and his own rights as an apostle in chapter 9. He deals with the issues of unity in the Lord's Supper in chapters 10 and 11. And he begins to talk to them about the proper use of their abundant spiritual gifts, especially in worship, in chapter 12. Just a host of issues that Paul had to deal with, and he does effectively, and the advice, of course, it's inspired, that he gave to them still holds for us today in how we deal with issues even currently, so far removed from that ancient congregation. Meanwhile, our reading in the Psalms, Psalms 67, 68, and 123 seem to be companion psalms. I'm not sure that's how they were meant, but they just go well together. Psalm 67 urges everything to praise God, while Psalm 68 tells of God's exertion of his mighty power on behalf of his people. In Psalm 123, the psalmist acknowledges our dependence on God's might as we lift our eyes to him to help us. There's a lot to take in our reading this week. And so, grab a cup and enjoy. God bless you.